Yo, what's popping? It's time to go back to different teams and why they did not win the midseason madness tournament, and looking at how they're going to do into the summer showdown qualifiers. And this is a very important team for the next qualifiers, because the Toronto Defiant are hosting them, and if they do not make it to their own event that they are hosting, that would be a massive blow to the team in terms of like fan base, in terms of business, in terms of everything. They really do have to make it to this tournament, or it's going to be really bad. So anyway, even if they go 0-2, they still need to go. They need to show up to go 0-2, like they have in the past two. So Toronto, the last seed in the West, eighth seed, 7 points with a 6-6 record. Of course, this record does not affect them going into the next tournament, and a -2 map differential. So the team being Hisu, Twilight, Hotba, Charong, Muse, Finale, and Aldo. Aldo did not see any gameplay, I believe. All tournament, all qualifiers. Mostly showing Muse, Hisu, Finale, Twilight, and Charong. I believe Hoppa ended up playing a little bit because, he's your Sigma guy, he's your Zarya guy. Well, he doesn't really play Zarya, but, he's your Sigma guy. So they get 3-0'd by Shanghai in winners round 1. Wasn't particular. It was like kind of close. There were some things to look for, and you were like, okay, this team can do things. It wasn't looking horrible, and then they lose to Houston 3-2 in the losers bracket. And again, it doesn't look horrible. Houston didn't go any further, right? They just lost to Atlanta the next time, so odds are Toronto would have too. But it would have been nice to get a tournament win under their belt this season, and not lose to Houston for the second time in two tournaments. But after Shanghai, it wasn't that bad because there were some dives they were pulling off that looked pretty good. Twilight was playing very well aggressively on the Ana. There were times where they were getting nade kills, or a nade like initiating the dive off of the nade that was very strong. And it looks like, well, if they can play that style enough, they'll actually be able to do things. And it really wasn't the end of the world against Shanghai. And Houston, it was very close. I believe they were up 2-1 against Houston, and they let it crumble through their fingertips. They just didn't have that same bite that Houston had. I don't know. It's just not. It just wasn't. It wasn't quite there. On Coliseum, that's a Houston on Coliseum against Toronto. That's a standard thing. That's not going to happen. We've seen Pelican do things on that map, and he's going to do them again. And a big thing about the Houston-Toronto matchup is that Hisu really did get outperformed by Merit. And that is something that, if for Toronto to win, you can't have Hisu not be the best DPS in the lobby, essentially. Like, he kind of needs to be that guy. And he just wasn't. So I am looking a little bit more for him. It's a little unfair because at the same time, Hisu is doing so much for this roster. But you have to. He's your big guy, and he has to show up in the big moments, and he didn't against Houston, and that's kind of the reality. So looking at this team schedule moving forward, they need at least 3 wins to have a chance of going. They can maybe get 3 wins and still not make it, but we'll see. So they play Vancouver and then Atlanta in week 15, Dallas and the LA Gladiators in week 16, the Boston Uprising in week 17, and the London Spitfire week 18. So this, of course, will be with Junker Queen, and not the same patch as Contenders was on, because Moira will not have her Enfeebling Orb. They didn't like that. Junker Queen will not have her Shout be super busted and give 100 HP for 4 seconds. It's decaying like Lucio Sandbarrier. So, not going to be quite the same patch. I think Junker Queen could be good, but not going to be like played everywhere. So, we'll see how that goes. So, Jordan is getting nerfed, I believe, as well compared to the Contenders patch. I'm a little bit worried for Toronto. I'm going to be honest. Vancouver, you should win easily, right? No Shockwave. You should beat Vancouver easily. Atlanta, you should lose to Atlanta. But it's Atlanta in the regular season, so you can think, oh, maybe they don't have it. But I feel like Atlanta should have this win. We'll see where Dallas is at week 2. It's good that we get Dallas kind of early. I said week, but I said we as because I'm a Toronto fan. But it's good that Toronto played Dallas early, because Dallas early normally worse than Dallas late. However, Dallas was just consistently not that great this entire tournament cycle. We'll see. It would be good for them if Dallas weren't in their top form, but if Dallas is, then that's a little rough. Gladiator should just be a loss straight up. Now, Boston was looking stronger than Toronto at the end of last tournament cycle. They kind of were, I think. We'll see where they are now. We'll see if they keep Itzel on the bench more. We'll see how they kind of use the compositions. They're a team that's done some weird compositions and they've kind of tried to force them. The Sigma May Lucio looking at you weird comp. We'll see if they try to do anything like that. Toronto should have the raw power to be able to beat Boston, right? Hisu, between Hisu and Twilight and Chorong, you'd think maybe double flexible won't be as good this patch because Zen is getting nerfed, I believe, as well. He doesn't have that 25 HP, so that would hurt Boston because Crimzo and the Zenyatta has been so good for them, but been very much the strongest part. So we'll see at that point how it looks. I would like to say Toronto should be better than Boston. And then against London, that's going to be a really key matchup because if they are 2-3 at that point, or they could be 3-2, they could be anything, right? If they are 2-3 and they need that win, it's going to be interesting to see if they beat London. I suspect Ryan comps will still be just as strong because I think Ryan will have a good matchup in the Junker Queen. Because Junker Queen can't really do anything to Reinhardt, realistically. Reinhardt just runs her down. Run should be a better Russian Junker Queen, I suspect. Especially with the nerf on the shout. So it's going to be really interesting to see what London do. London's a very strong team. I don't expect them to get weaker. And I kind of like their odds against Toronto also. So they kind of need to steal a win here. Toronto need to steal a win against either Dallas or London. Or even Atlanta, you can argue that maybe they can steal a win against Atlanta. I'd love to see that. Maybe. I'm going to take a look at... hold on. I'm going to take a look at how Atlanta did at the start of last stage. Did Atlanta lose a map? They went to 5 against Boston. That doesn't really mean a lot. Nah, I don't know. I think it's looking rough for Toronto, and they're going to squeak into their own tournament, maybe, or not make it at all. We'll see. We'll see. I hope they do better because I am going to the tournament, and I would like to see Toronto there. So I don't know. I'm going to predict a 3-3 record for Toronto. Surely they find an extra win somewhere, and they get a win against Boston and Vancouver. Surely, but it's not looking great for this team. Probably the weakest team to beat in this tournament. That's why I did them first because I think they are the weakest of the teams that dropped out of the bottom 4. But we'll see. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. Like this video if you like it. Subscribe for more daily Overwatch League content. Let me know your thoughts down below, as always, and have yourself a good one. Deuces.